And now even if my opponent has a second Toxic Deluge, this will not win the game for them. I don't think my opponent can cast Toxic Deluge to 9. Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your dredge guy, and today we are back to Modern, and with many different things from our previous attempts to build a dredge deck in Modern. This time we are attempting this, the Beetlejuice, the Altanak or Altanak. I'm not sure how to say this name correctly, but it is important to spell this name, to say this name correctly, because we must call it thrice, and then it will enter the battlefield as a 9/9 trample, sometimes with flying, because we have Wonder, and not every deck in Modern can deal with a 9/9 gigantic insect. So we have the Say Its Name package. This is also a new card. How it works, in case you were new to this Duskmourn world. So Say Its Name is a sorcery. It costs 2 mana, and you mill 3 cards. So it is basically a Life from the Lawn coming back with Dredge 3. And then you may return a creature or land card from a graveyard to your hand. So this is an enabler, not the best one. We have better enablers. Tom Scour, you usually do a better job as an enabler with a single mana, but this is an enabler. Sometimes you can take 1 land, and by land I mean Cephalid Coliseum, but we also have some Surveil lands, Undercity Sewers and Cage Maze. So sometimes we can just have some utility lands. We also have Boseiju in the sideboard, so maybe we have some applications with Say Its Name when we don't find our Life from the Lawn. And if you have at least 3 copies of this card in your graveyard, something usually trivial for Dredge, we just playing our deck, we will mill our deck, we will mill our library, and then we can exile 3 copies of this card to put this gigantic insect in play. If we have this insect in play, this legendary creature, uncommon creature, our commander in this build, we can discard it, paying 2 mana to return a land card from our graveyard to the battlefield, tapped. So this is a great way to have something to do with this card if you have this rolling in your hand. We can get a Cephalid Coliseum, a fetch land, or anything we need. And since we can also return creatures with Say Its Name, instead of having great staples of Dredge in Modern, like the Ghouls or Bloodghasts, we are trying Psychic Frog. And why I'm trying Psychic Frog in this build? Well, before playing this league today here, I will start recording now, but before playing this league, I played yesterday 2 leagues, just a couple of leagues, trying to understand better how to build this. Sometimes I tried with Psychic Frog in my sideboard, sometimes I tried with a full Life from the Lawn set, sometimes with Dark Blast. I tried to understand how to build this, and also getting a little more experience with this new format after Nadu gets the hammer. And I think Psychic Frog is a main deck material, not a sideboard material. I understand that some Dredge players may think, well, let's try to do our thing with our graveyard on game 1, and then on games 2 and 3 we have some alternative win conditions coming from the sideboard, just to play better around a graveyard hate. But Psychic Frog can be our enabler, our threat. If we, the way I see this build here, this Sultai Dredge 2.2 that I built for this league, I have 0 repetition with this exactly 75 cards, but I did play a little bit with a Psychic Frog and the Say Its Name package, the Beetlejuice package, before that. And I think that since we have 4 copies of Creeping Chill, when we want to hit our opponents to deal lethal damage, Psychic Frog is like a flying conflagrate. Sometimes if you have this Psychic Frog on turn 2, for example, and you just keep playing on turns 3 and turn 4, you have a 6/7 Psychic Frog or 8/9 Psychic Frog, especially because we have Life from the Lawn. If we don't have Psychic Frog, we can have a 9/9 Trample Flyer. And this card is especially good because if my opponent tries to destroy it or exile it, it will trigger and we draw a card. Draw a card in Dredge means dredging. So I think everything is quite working here in the synergy department. I think we can, I imagine scenarios like this. Your opponent did cast a Surgical Extraction targeting Pressed Amalgam, and then you have no ways to deal with anything. Maybe you don't have Altanak yet, but you have a Psychic Frog in your graveyard, and then you cast Say Its Name, take Psychic Frog back, cast Psychic Frog, cast a Life from the Lawn, getting 3 lands, discard all of them to Psychic Frog, you have a Giant Frog. You always have wins to win the game. Dark Blast is always great, and it is really well positioned in this metagame. We'll play with only 2 of them, because in my experience, my previous experience playing the format, I enjoyed Dark Blast, but I also enjoyed Life from the Lawn, and in a Sultai build we can have chew and chew. I think that's a nice way to play both of them. Sometimes you want one of them, sometimes you want chew, but mostly you just want to have a great stun 2 and 3, sacrificing Cephalic Coliseum, or maybe casting Psychic Frog and go to win the game in a couple of turns. And since we are heavily designed towards blue, all of our fetch lands are blue, so I will try to play I will try to play 0 basic lands. I mean, this league, because I played with a basic islands in the past, and it was never useful. I never play against a land disruption deck or land disruption strategy. I'm not sure if they are common in Modern or not. In Legacy, I'm super used to play against wasteland decks, so I enjoy playing with basic lands in my dredge decks in Legacy. But here in Modern, since we want 1 blue and 1 black, and sometimes we want 1 green, 1 blue, and 1 black in on turn 3, I will try to not have a basic land here. I know Modern is the format that plays Blood Moon, and now also that new Merfolk, and maybe some disruption spells to target lands. But since we have Life from the Loam, maybe we don't need basic lands. This will be a good way to fill our deck as well. Let's talk a little bit about the sideboard. So I talked a little bit about Boseiju. It is obviously good against artifact and enchantments, so it is an answer. I don't think the format Modern, even Legacy now, play that many Leyline of the Void. I see that many players just have other answers, not Leyline, the majority of the players. And that's why I'm including only 3 answers to Leyline in Boseiju. And we have Thoughtseize. It is a great card in any condition. If you feel that if we feel that we need something to see our opponent's hand to force my opponent to discard a card, you can include Thoughtseize. But my bet to this league is Spellnare. This is maybe I didn't see Spellnare in any sideboard in other dredge decks. I'm not sure if anyone is trying Spellsnare. I feel that Modern is probably built around 2 mana value cards that can answer our deck: Sanctifier and Vec. Unlicensed Hers. I don't know, many cards, many combo cards. Playing against Storm, for example, many of their cards just costs 2 mana. So I'll try to include this as a counter spell. I can imagine scenarios where you can sideboard in both Thoughtseize and Spellsnare, so you can have something similar to what Blue Dredge is in Legacy, with a little bit of control elements. Or you can just choose Spellsnare or Thoughtseize. I think we can probably deal with a lot of our troubles with those cards. And I would like to include some removal spell, of course, some bounce spells, or maybe Gemstone Caverns, just to be a little bit faster on the draw, or maybe to have this opportunity. I'm not using Gemstone Caverns here because playing a couple of leagues yesterday with Gemstone Caverns, I had 0 opportunity to use them because they were never in my starting hand. And usually when I had Life from the Loam trying to get all the colors that I want, I had the Gemstone Caverns in the graveyard, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. So instead of trying to be fast and sometimes disrupting our own mana base with Gemstone Caverns when we don't hit I'm deciding to just go slow, assuming that we are a slower deck, of course. But we are so consistent with Psychic Frog and the Say Its Name package. I bet that we will probably side out the Say Its Name package a lot when we are on the draw, because it's not that fast. But playing yesterday, I did the thing, putting Altanak on turn 3 twice. So maybe it's not that slow. Maybe it's just me doubting a little bit of the strength of this card. But we must test it to be sure. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this league with me. I'm super excited to get back to Modern because this is my first attempt to play Modern after Nadu being banned from the format. So I think the format is slightly slower than 1 month ago. And well, let's do our best. Click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you are also excited to see this new beast in action. And I'll see you soon in a second. Let's go. Renting cards is the best way to play online, and you can start your journey, like me, on Mana Traders. Just use this coupon code that you can see here on this page to have an exclusive discount on your first 2 months. Now, let's go back to the games. Alright, round 1. We are on the play against a Giganta deck. This hand is not bad. It's not bad at all. It may be... I will mulligan this because I want to try something better or faster. Maybe a hand with more enablers. This is not the hand. This is not the hand that I want. Let's mulligan again. Okay, this is better. This is probably our best hand. So let's keep it. I will put Wonder and one land, one of the fetches, right? So let's start with Breeding Pool, untapped, and we cast Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, Altanak is there. Say its name, our first copy. Let's put everything into our graveyard. We don't want to keep Say its name. We can have a natural draw next turn and then decide between Life from the Loam or Psychic Frog. My opponent plays Sacred Foundry and Guide of Souls, okay? So it is an energy deck. Narcomoeba is an awful draw. So Psychic Frog is probably our best shot here. And if my opponent cannot deal immediately with Psychic Frog, we have great chances to win this game. Okay, my opponent plays a fetch land, tracks it, for a basic forest. Oh, Birthing Ritual. This is probably a new build that I'm not familiar with, but my opponent probably has a pack of creatures, different creatures, value creatures. My opponent cannot go after an Endurance now, because Guide of Souls has a mana cost of 1. Costs only 1 mana. Let's see what my opponent can find. If my opponent just finds a... oh, okay, a Jenny. A Jenny is okay. Now we'll discard Life from the Loam. Froggy gets bigger. We'll dredge 3. Okay, let's cast Life from the Loam. So we'll have a Cephalic Coliseum for next turn. I will play it and discard my other cards, just to have maximum value on our frog. Let's give flying to our frog. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a flying Psychic Frog. So we attack with a frog. This is turn 3. Frog hits. Rugged. And now we will dredge 5. Double Creeping Chill is awesome. That means that we will probably have the win next turn with a single Life from the Loam, because a frog can go to a 7-8 size, go up in size. So my opponent taps for mana. Goblin Bombardment, that's okay, that doesn't kill Psychic Frog. My opponent plays Stomping Ground, tapped. Okay, my opponent needs to find something with a Birthing Ritual. If they don't, we will probably win. They need Endurance here. So Endurance could block Psychic Frog and shuffle our graveyard on the bottom of our library. My opponent goes for a Guide of Souls. My Johnny flips. Unless my opponent has Solitude, I think we won this game. I can even cast Loam here and keep one land to activate Cephalic Coliseum if I want to. Okay, my opponent just considered the game, so they don't have an answer. Ooh, we won our first game. Psychic Frog. The Dredge Frog. Now let's sideboard. Let's do our sideboard against energy. Considering our guns here, I don't like the idea to sideboard too much against energy, considering what we have here. When I built this sideboard, I was thinking in other decks. I think our main deck is already good enough. But maybe we can experiment Spell Snare or Thoughtseize. The Say Its Name package, maybe it is just too slow on the draw. But in my previous testing, those cards are good against Endurance, and my opponent maybe has Endurance. Since we are on the draw, let's try Spell Snare. Maybe one Boseiju, or more than one. Thoughtseizes are also tempting, but we are on the draw, and I prefer to play with Thoughtseize when we are on the play. Okay, let's include one Boseiju, maybe all of them, and I can take one Fetch Land and one Breeding Pool. Maybe it would be better to just take... well, it's okay, I just clicked on Submit, but maybe Breeding Pool would be better. Since we have Boseiju, maybe we should take Hedge Maze from the deck, so we can have more untapped green mana. Okay, this is so tempting because we have a Dark Blast and we have a Boseiju. This is not the greatest hand, not at all. Maybe this is a mistake, but I'm going to keep it. Because Dark Blast is so good against this deck. If my opponent starts with a 1-1 Cat, for example, or a Ragavan, or something like that. My opponent plays an Aridimisa, cracks it for a basic Plains. Okay, Ocelot Pride. That's what I was talking about. And another land is actually really good. So we'll take a Watery Grave here. Yes, I would like to pay life, and I would like to kill the kitty. Meow, meow. Alright, so my opponent plays another land, cracks it, Stomping Ground. Empty Raptor, we can kill that. Dranith Magistrate, why? Okay, we have one flashback spell, and my opponent doesn't want to see that. Let's take Dark Blast back, Creeping Chill, but no Dredgers yet. Our Dredger is Dark Blast so far. We can play one Boseiju, and I think we can pass here. I don't need to kill the Raptor immediately. We can just wait a little bit. In case my opponent just plays the enchantment, we can destroy it. Yeah, it is exactly that. My opponent plays Birthing Ritual and plays a land. And now it gets scary because this Birthing Ritual can get creatures that cost 3 mana. So I think the play here is to take the damage, and now we will destroy Birthing Ritual. My opponent can get a basic land from their deck, and we need to do this on the main phase, on the second main phase, because my opponent's enchantment can trigger at the beginning of their end step. So we must be careful. Oh, my opponent has another one. Okay, so it doesn't matter, my opponent probably will win from here. We did nothing on our turn, and my opponent probably have the win. Okay, they destroy Amped Raptor. Unless they fizzle and finds... Okay, Ajani is not that bad, and finds something not that scary. 2 cards in their hand. Now I should fire this Dark Blast. If I kill the Cat Warrior, it is not that great for me. I'm not sure if I can deal with Ajani immediately next turn. Maybe I should have a natural draw here, because Dredge 3 will not win the game. So let's have a natural draw. Press the Amalgam is not what we want. Yeah, I think this game is not winnable anymore, and that is probably because our starting hand wasn't that good. You see that we still have Stinkwood Imps, a Gripping Chill in our hand. So this is the thing that I always talk about. Oh, Extraction Specialist. Now my opponent can get Raptor or the Kitty. It is the Kitty. That's not the best choice because I can kill it immediately and my opponent will have no value from it. So my opponent attacks, but killing it before the end step will flip Ajani. Maybe my opponent will destroy it. Let's see. Oh, my opponent didn't gain life this turn, so this will not trigger. My opponent has the City's Blessing, but they will not gain other creatures because this was the creature for the turn. Specialist. My opponent's Birthing Ritual will find something. Okay, Renegade Radier, I see. So now my opponent will get Ajani back, and this is probably our window. So my opponent... Yeah, but it's miserable, guys. We have only a single... We don't have a Toxic Deluge or something like that. So we cannot kill everyone. And this Birthing Ritual will win the game for my opponent. Yeah, we dredged 3 cards, but nothing good. I can kill 1 cat, but it doesn't matter. Let's see if my opponent reveals a little bit more of their deck, so we can prepare better for game 3. My opponent draws. Okay, they doesn't need to reveal anything. They can just attack here, dealing lethal damage. So, of course, I could just cast Dark Blast, but this will not win the game, right? So, let's try to do better on game 3. And considering what we saw, maybe my opponent doesn't have Endurance at all. Maybe green is just a splash for Renegade Radier and the enchantment, the Birthing Ritual. So I think I will try the main deck plan without any changes. Maybe Boseiju. No, not even Boseiju. I think I will try. Yeah, I think I'll try the main plan or main game plan, because on the play I think the Beetlejuice package is better than on the draw. Maybe you can have a fast 9/9. My opponent's deck is probably light on removal compared to Mardu energy decks or Boros energy decks. They probably have more creatures that can remove something, like Solitude, creatures that can have scary triggers. Okay, let's see our starting hand. Okay, in Psychic Frog we trust? I don't think so. It is tempting, of course, because my opponent can have a Graveyard Hate, but I don't think this is a great hand on the play. Let's try to do better. I'm going to keep this because I'm deeply curious about how Say Its Name will perform. And we have Cephalic Coliseum and a Dredger. We have Thumbscour. We have a good turn 1, a medium turn 2, and a great turn 3. So let's see. Flooded Strand will find me a Breeding Pool because we have Say Its Name. And I will cast Thumbscour. Oh, double Say Its Name in my graveyard. You know what that means. So I will not crack Cephalic Coliseum on turn 2. I will take... and my opponent has only a tapped land. So even if my opponent has something like a Thraben Charm or Endurance, okay, we'll dredge 4 here. No answer from my opponent, so let's cast Say Its Name. Okay, Gripping Chill is good. We could take Psychic Frog here, but we don't have a black mana yet. So I think the right choice is just to take a land. This way we can crack Cephalic Coliseum on turn 3 and still have 2 lands to cast Life from the Loam on turn 4. Yeah, so let's take a fetch land. Gripping Chill triggers, draining 3 life. And now we will say its name. Its name is Altanak. The Thrice-Called. So we squeezed 3 cards, and now the insect, the legendary insect, came to life. And now what my opponent can do? If my opponent just plays... Okay, my opponent is holding mana. Is this the Thraben Charm that energy decks are playing these days? If this is the case, that's okay. We can win with our Giant Insect. I think it is. Or Containment Priest, maybe? Oh no, it is the instant spell. No graveyard for us, but we have Life from the Loam, we have another land, and we have a Giant Insect. Can we win just with this weird game plan? Oh, I was so distracted thinking about winning the game with our 9/9 Trample that I misclicked there. This shouldn't be a Watery Grave. I should take Surveil Land instead. But I don't think it will matter too much, unless my opponent has Static Prison. Even if my opponent has a Prison, I don't think they do. Okay, maybe they have. This will trigger. No Prison? Okay, my opponent concedes. We won with a turn 2 Altanak. Even against the Shriving Charm. This was super sweet, guys. We won our first match. Let's continue. Let's go to our next one. If you're enjoying my content and want to support me as a content creator, the best way of doing it is on Patreon. Being there, you can read my weekly articles and also my sideboard guides to play this and other dredge decks in other formats. I want to say thank you to all my patrons that you can see here on this page. Now, back to the games. Round 2, we are on the play against Aluren 85. Yes, I would like to play first. 2 Narcomoebas, nope. Okay, this is a keep. We have great cards. Wonder can go back. This is so consistent, right? This is not fast because Sultai Dredge builds are not fast, but this is so consistent. 2 lands, we have all the mana we need to start the game, and in the future we can cast Loam to get more lands. So let's start with Flooded Strand. Water Grave, doesn't matter too much here. We just need blue mana, so let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. A second Psychic Frog is tempting because maybe it is a good card to have. We already have our Dredger in our hand. So I'll keep the Psychic Frog on top. We never know, yeah, this is Modern, and your opponent can have a turn 1 Thoughtseize, taking your Psychic Frog, and then you just draw another one. My opponent plays Steam Vents, taps for mana. Oh, Thumbscour themselves! Is this a mirror? Okay, this seems like a Temur battle. Dredge against Dredge! Let's see who is the best Dredge deck in town. Battle of Dredgers. So this is my first mirror match in Modern, I think. This is not exactly a mirror match, because our decks are not exactly the same. My opponent's deck here is more aggressive than mine, because they have red, so they have access to cards like Conflagrate, or maybe other finishers, and Ox of Agonas, of course. And it seems like a Bloodghast build, so I think my opponent also has Life from the Loam. Let's watch it in action. My opponent seems to be thinking here about their best plan. So far they didn't see too much about our deck, only Psychic Frog as a different card. And we are seeing Cathartic Reunion, Bloodghast, Thumbscour, Cephalic Coliseum. Okay, my opponent plays Mana Confluence. Bloodghast will enter the battlefield, triggering Prized Amalgam. And my opponent taps for mana, Life from the Loam. Okay, my opponent is ahead on this race. But everything can change after we dredge next turn and attack with a Psychic Frog. So let's discard Golgari Thug. We will dredge 4. Nothing that great there. We could play another Psychic Frog. Psychic Frog is a great card on defense here because my opponent's Amalgam cannot deal me damage if I have a Psychic Frog on defense. Bloodghast can't block, so we can attack with our Psychic Frog. I'm not sure if I will discard something extra here, because maybe it is better to have extra cards to discard to my second Psychic Frog, since I will stay on defense with my second Frog. So let's trigger here Dredging 5. Narcomoeba as a blocker. We have 1 Prized Amalgam in our graveyard. It will come back. Okay, this is a balanced matchup. We will play our second Frog. I think it is better because we don't have a Coliseum yet on our graveyard, so I think our second Frog is just better. Oh, and we have Wonder now. So all of our creatures can fly. Both my opponent's creatures. My opponent did find a Creeping Chill. It's the first. My opponent has another Bloodghast now. So they start with Otherworldly Gaze. A second Chill. This is getting scary. My opponent can find more... Okay, just 1 Bloodghast. In response, they will crack Cephalic Coliseum. Another Chill. Oh gosh. Let's see our opponent's graveyard. They have Ox of Agonas, Silver's Moat Ghoul, Life from the Loam. It seems like a regular Temur build. Nothing that different. Trying to combine Ox of Agonas and Cephalic Coliseum in a strong build. So my opponent will probably attack here because all of their creatures are going back next turn. Will come back next turn. So let's discard some cards here. I will keep Said's name. Let's see our... Yeah, our graveyard is not so good as my opponent's graveyard. Not yet, at least. So we'll block here, and I think we need to block Bloodghast, right? I think we need to block that just to absorb some damage. Now we are down to 3 life. We need to find some Creeping Chills, like my opponent did. My opponent did find 3 chills. Maybe we can find 3 chills too. Okay, let's think here for a moment. I will always dredge here. And I think we need to find creeping chills because my opponent has an Ox and they will find their 4th creeping chill. So I have Narcomoeba. I think our best plan here... Oh, I need to think a little bit about it. Because of course, Sacred Frogs are great blockers, but all of my creatures can come back in a single turn. So let's cast Say Its Name. Maybe we can be lucky and find the 3rd copy. Okay, 1 Creeping Chill, but no 3rd copy of Say Its Name. We can return a Cephalic Elysium here, but I'm not sure if this is the best approach. Because I'm desperate trying to find more Creeping Chills and more creatures this turn, not next turn. If I take Cephalic Elysium here, this will not give me an advantage this turn because I cannot crack it. If I take the Surveil Land, I can go 1 card deeper, trying to hit more cards. Maybe another Chill, another Press Amalgam or Narcomoeba, or maybe another Say Its Name. And then next turn I can... Let's see my opponent's graveyard. They will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They'll have at least 6 creatures probably next turn. Their Blood Guests have haste. My opponents don't have Wonder, at least not yet. I think I'll take Hage Maze, because next turn I can Dredge Loam, typing 2 mana, and then take Encephalic Elysium. I think this is wiser. So we'll play the Maze. Or maybe we just attack first. Let's discard Sync Imp here. I think that's wiser. And must remember, my opponent also has probably Conflagrate in the main deck. It can be a sideboard card, but they probably have at least 1 Conflagrate in the main deck. So Frogs will trigger. Oh, we can order those triggers. So, okay, 1 Chill is good. No Say Its Name yet. So let's discard our 2nd Sync Imp there, because it's our best treasure and we have only 1. Chill drains 3 life. And now, okay, no other Chill unfortunately. No other Say Its Name. Let's play the Maze. Okay, Narcomoeba. It is a blocker. So Narcomoeba can block. We can block 3 creatures. We can block... we are going down to 5 with 2 Blood Guests. We are going down to 2. My opponent has another land, right? They have access to life from the loam, so they can get their Blood Guest back. We can block 3 creatures, 3, 5, 7. We will go down to 2 life. To survive this turn, we need to be a little bit lucky. My opponent can't have access to their last Creeping Chill. And please, no Conflagrate at all. My opponent is thinking on their upkeep. Maybe they have some choices. Okay, they return Sync Imp. Oh, they mill Conflagrate. And another Blood Guest. I think they have another land in their hand, right? Yeah, they do. Oh, we tried, guys. We tried. But our opponent's deck it was better on their dredging. My opponent did find Prize Amalgams faster than us. We milled the same quantity of cards, you see. We are on turn 4. My opponent has 20 cards. We have 21. And of course, Blood Guesses are great attackers. Yeah, and my opponent will cast Conflagrate, destroying our blockers. And that's it. We can concede. Now, when you are playing the mirror match, of course, this is not exactly the mirror. Our dredge deck is different. Maybe this is not about the graveyard anymore. I'm not sure if my opponent will play Leyline of the Void, but we will do. We have 4 Leyline of the Void. And this is modern. This is not like dredge deck in Legacy. Dredge deck in Legacy usually has Leyline of the Void in the sideboard. In Modern it's different. Sometimes I see dredge builds without graveyard hate at all. So I'm not sure if my opponent has Leyline of the Void. To include them, I think probably the Say Its Name package, the Altanak package, is too slow. Especially if my opponent also has Leyline of the Void. I could include some copies of Boseiju, but I'm not sure if my opponent actually has Leyline. If they don't, Boseiju is just green mana. And not everyone in Modern moves until finding a Leyline, right? And my opponent saw our Psychic Frogs, so maybe my opponent noticed that we don't lose the game immediately if they have Leyline. So I think I will not include any answers to Leyline. Maybe one Thoughtseize? A single one? We could include one Thoughtseize. Spell Snare is tempting, but let's remember that our opponent's best 2 drops and discard cards on casting, right? Like Cathartic Reunion. My opponent doesn't need to resolve the card to have some action. So I think we will move until we find a Leyline of the Void. This has no Leyline, so mulligan, and this is awful. This is awful, no lands. I'm not mulligan until I find Leyline. I'm mulligan because I don't have good hands. So let's move to 5. Oh, this is really good. This is super good. Let's keep it. We have a Leyline, and we have our best attacker in a Dredge Mirror. And we have access to 2 Surveil Lands. And sometimes they can find a Dredger to us. Oh, my opponent is going down to 3 cards. Maybe my opponent is also searching for their own Leyline. They didn't. we found our Leyline of the Void, so we have an advantage. Of course, my opponent can have ways to deal with Leyline of the Void, right? We don't want a 4th land and a 3rd green mana. We definitely don't want that. Okay, my opponent plays Steam Vents. Okay, untapped. Maybe my opponent has a bounce spell. We will play Water Grave and Psychic Frog. It's in the battlefield. Rugged. My opponent casts Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, and we pass. My opponent did exile Narcomoeba, Life from the Loam, and Go. So they are looking for something, but couldn't find yet. They played a tapped land. Let's discard our Thug and Dredge 4, Creeping Chill, and other Sync with Imp there. We are definitely doing. Let's discard our Dredger. Do I discard my 3rd land? I'm not sure. I think I'll keep my 3rd land because if my opponent has ways to bounce my Leyline, maybe it is interesting to have 4 lands in the future. So let's play this Breeding Pool. I can even play it untapped to cast my Stinkweed Imp. Oh, I'm just being dumb. The best play here is just cast Otherworldly Gaze from my graveyard. It was my last card revealed, and I was so focused on playing Stinkweed Imp. No distractions, no distractions. Let's play for real here. Okay, Narcomoeba, Surprise Amalgam. And I will put Misty on my graveyard because I can get Misty back with Life from the Loam. And we almost have Lethal on board. My opponent needs to deal with our creatures, not only with Leyline of the Void. Okay, my opponent has 3 cards in their hand and just pass a turn. We will discard our Imp. Not really, because we want to dredge 3, right? So let's get some lands. Because all of those lands can be discarded to Psychic Frog. So now we can deal 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can deal 11 damage. This way my opponent cannot tap Rainbow Land or even crack a fetch land. Maybe I keep one of them. Let's attack here. Let's see if my opponent has an answer. Maybe my opponent, I don't know, just bounces Psychic Frog. No answer? Okay, so we'll dredge here. We have 2 Amalgams there for next turn. And I'll keep this. We don't have any more mana. This was stupid. Because we still have 33 cards in our deck, but we already milled our lands. We have only fetch lands and Cephalic Coliseums. That's okay, we won the game. My opponent did concede. And now what? Now we are on the play. Thoughtseize is not. We are on the draw, I'm sorry. Thoughtseizes are not that good, because if my opponent has an answer, it will probably cost only a single mana. So Thoughtseize is not that good. I could play a Spell Snare, a Boseiju, or a Sate's Name. A single Sate's Name. Or maybe I just keep Thoughtseize. Okay, I'll try 1 copy of Sate's Name, just as a medium enabler. Sate's Name, it works like 1 activation of Life from the Loam in a single spell, right? Because you mill 3 cards, and then you can return a creature or a land. We can use it to return a Psychic Frog, for example. So it has some applications. Okay, this could be good against other decks, but not against this one. Oh, can we keep this only because we have Leyline of the Void? Considering what we saw on our second game, I think I'll keep it. And let's put Creeping Chill back. At least we can cast Narcomoeba on turn 2. And we have a fetch land. I can surveil something good to our graveyard. My opponent is down to 4 cards. If my opponent also has Leyline... No, they don't. If my opponent also had a Leyline of the Void in play, this could be an amazing game. Just we casting Narcomoebas and Chills from our hand. But, well. Life from the Loam is a great addition to our starting hand. This Scalding Tarn will be a Hage Maze. My opponent plays Bloodstained Mire and passes. We will crack Scalding Tarn on their end step and take Hage Maze. Oh, wow! Our best card in the deck to be milled, to be surveilled. We will dredge 5, please. Okay, we don't have 7 cards in our graveyard yet. So I think this is a Life from the Loam turn, right? Let's cast it to take back 2 lands. And next turn we can crack Cephalic Coliseum, and in the other turn we can also crack Cephalic Coliseum. My opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire. Steam Vents, untapped. Ooh, that's scary. No, just a single Otherworldly Gaze. My opponent probably has green answers to Leyline of the Void. Cards that can force me to sacrifice Leyline, for example. And now we will dredge. Oh, my opponent has some action. Another Steam Vents. Okay, tapped. We'll dredge 5. Creeping Chill is good. And we have dredgers there. We have 2 Life from the Loam, so it's reliable to crack one of them. Let's keep 1 black mana untapped. And we'll dredge 3, chill. Press Amalgam, Thug, 2 Creeping Chills. We can discard our best dredgers. Next turn we'll do it again. Even if my opponent can bounce or destroy our Leyline this turn, they have so few cards in their hand. We are so ahead this game. This is probably too much to handle. Okay, my opponent is tapping mana. 1 blue, 1 red. Cathartic Reunion just to draw some cards. Discarding... Okay, nothing good. Bloodstained Mire, 2 cards in their hand. Stomping Ground, tapped. Is my opponent building their own Ox of Agonas? Maybe. Maybe my opponent is hitting 5 mana next turn. But we will have Narcos and 1 Prize Amalgam. My opponent is probably losing the game this turn. Let's see. We have 2 Dredgers there. What I'm still searching for. Our last Creeping Chill is in our hand. So I could just grab some extra lands here instead of cracking Cephalic Elysium because we already have lethal next turn. If I do that, we don't have black mana in our graveyard, so I need to crack a fetch land. I'm just thinking about how to lose the game. Okay, my opponent just concedes. But I'm thinking how we could lose this game. If my opponent destroys our Leyline of the Void or bounces it, how could I lose this game? So we won the Battle of Dredgers. And now we are 2-0. Let's try to continue this on our third match. We are going to round 3 against a Nevot 33. And this is not a good hand to keep. Good lands, but no enablers. This is the opposite. All the enablers, but no lands. Okay, we'll keep this. Let's put 2 Creeping Chills back. This is our best hand. We have 2 good enablers. My opponent starts with Undercity Silvers. Is this a mirror match again? This is probably a tempo deck. So we draw a 3rd Creeping Chill. Okay. So now we'll crack Polluted Delta for Breeding Pool. And we'll start with Thumb Scour. Okay, we did find 2 Dredgers. So next turn the question is, can we crack Cephalic Elysium and try to win the game faster? Or just cast a Life from the Loam to be solid and have some more lands? My opponent plays Watery Grave. Oh, untapped. So this represents 2 things, Counterspell and Orcish Bowmasters. Let's dredge 5 here. We have 2 Dredgers there, a Thug and a Life from the Loam. Creeping Chill is good. If my opponent has Orcish Bowmasters, I'm not sure if it is correct to crack my Cephalic Elysium now. Because sometimes you will not chain Dredgers when you have only a Dredge 3 and 4. I will definitely play it. But on the other hand, my opponent can have just Counterspell, and I don't want to lose my Life from the Loam this turn. I could use maybe one of the early gates to test my opponent's hand. Because if they do have a Counterspell, they will be tempted to counter this, but this is also so bad to counter. Yeah, my opponent didn't counter that. State's Name can be milled. We can keep our 2nd Cephalic Elysium. This was actually really good because now we have 2 Cephalic Elysiums in a row. If we crack this Cephalic Elysium, there are great chances to not. And my opponent had an Orcish Bowmaster. My opponent probably had both because they stopped for a good amount of seconds when I did cast Otherworldly Gaze. Now what? They play an basic island and attack me dealing 2 damage. Alright, down to 17. And passes, representing counterspells again. Or maybe a 2nd Bowmasters. I will draw my Cephalic Elysium. Now I'll crack it, right? After meeting 3 more cards last turn, I think this is safer. This is not super safe, but it is safer. Let's dredge 4. Okay, dredge 5. So we will not trigger Bowmasters. And dredge 5 again. We have 1 Sate's Name, 2, only 2. Let's discard our 3 Dredgers. Those Nakamibas will trigger Prized Amalgams. Okay, Prized Amalgams will enter the battlefield at the end of the turn. And my opponent doesn't play Land Disruption, right? Land Destruction. So I can play my Cephalic Elysium. We could hide this information, but according to what my opponent do, sometimes we don't want to crack Cephalic Elysium next turn. Maybe we just want to cast a Life from the Loam, getting more lands back. My opponent didn't do a single thing. So my opponent probably has only counter spells and removal spells in their hand. They play Swamp. Toxic Deluge, okay? It makes sense. Now we need another Narcomoeba or a Say Its Name to get those Prize Amalgams back. Let's dredge 5. None of them. My opponent has 1 untapped land. I think now it's time to go for it, right? Let's crack Cephalic Elysium. We'll dredge 5. We are so close to the end of our deck. Dredge 5 again. Say Its Name is there. And let's dredge 5 again. Okay, 2 Creeping Chills are huge here. Because now, let's put Narcomoebas in play first. Let's see if my opponent can answer that. Because now my opponent is down to 6. And unless my opponent has Stifle, no Stifle, the other card, similar to Stifle, that counters Eldrazi. I forgot its name. But now we will have a Consign to Memory. Unless my opponent has a Consign to Memory, we will have a 9/9 trample creature. They don't have an answer. And now even if my opponent has a 2nd Toxic Deluge, this will not win the game for them. I don't think my opponent can cast Toxic Deluge to 9. It's hard to deal with a 9/9 Flying Trample. Probably my opponent's best answer is to bounce my Altanak, but I'm not sure if my opponent has bounce spells. Even if they destroy my creature, we'll have other creatures to win the game anyways. My opponent draws. It is curious that this game my opponent only had 2 spells, Orcish Bowmasters and Deluge. Nothing else. Okay, my opponent concedes. So against blue-black, tempo/control. My opponent can have numerous answers to our graveyard, but I'm not sure if they are good answers to have specific cards from our sideboard. We could bring in Thoughtseize or Spellsnare. I'm not sure if I want to take threats from my deck, because my opponent probably has Surgical Extraction. And when you play against a Surgical Extraction deck, it's important to have different threats. So we have Amalgams, Creeping Chill, we have Wonder, we have Narcomoeba, Psychic Frog, Say Its Name, Altanak. So it is important to have different ways to win the game. If we take the Say Its Name package, for example, and my opponent Surgical or Prized Amalgams, the only way to win the game is with a Psychic Frog. But my opponent probably have answers to Psychic Frog. This is a mulligan. Ooh, this is super slow. My opponent kept 7. Let's try this. Let's try this because we have lands, we have Say Its Name, and we have Cephalic Coliseum. Maybe. My opponent play Basic Island and Preordain. 2 cards to the bottom, we like that. Okay, a Dredger, not good. Not a good card to be or draw for the turn. We crack our Misty Rainforest for the Hedge Maze. Okay, our best Dredger is in our graveyard. And next turn we cannot crack Cephalic Coliseum immediately, but we can cast Say Its Name and have a great turn 3. Unless my opponent can answer our graveyard. My opponent plays a second Basic Island, representing Counterspell. So we'll Dredge 5. 1 Creeping Chill, okay. And we have 1 Otherworldly Gaze. So we have some options here. I'll always play Watergrave untapped. We can cast Otherworldly Gaze now. We could cast Say Its Name, but I think my opponent will just counter it. So I think I'll pass the turn and cast Otherworldly Gaze in my opponent's upkeep. Since we don't have goals anymore in this build, we don't care about finding Creeping Chills on my opponent's turn. That's fine. So doing that, I'm forcing my opponent to counter on their own turn, and they didn't. We can mill everything. We have a good Dredger again in our deck, in our graveyard, and the first copy of Say Its Name. My opponent plays Watergrave, untapped. That's scary. Harbinger of the Seas. Okay, so we cannot cast anything. We cannot crack Cephalic Coliseum anymore. Okay, this is going to be difficult, but this Narcomoeba enters the battlefield, and we already have 2 copies of Say Its Name. So we just need to discard 2 hand size next turn. I will not even play Cephalic Coliseum because it's just an island, and we don't need 3 islands in play. So next turn we can... My opponent attacks me. Next turn we can just discard Say Its Name, and on the other turn we can have Altanak back. No swamps for my opponent, so let's Dredge 3. Okay, I already have 3 copies of Say Its Name. I don't even need to... Okay, let's squeeze the juice to take our insect back from the ashes. Can my opponent answer Altanak with 3 islands? Maybe this Merfolk is hurting my opponent more than us, because now my opponent don't have black mana. So if they have a black removal spells, and I bet they do, my opponent is contemplating Say Its Name. The insect is coming. Okay, so now what? Can my opponent answer my Altanak? Is that correct? Altanak, Altanak, or Altanak? What do you think? What's the best way to spell, to say its name? So we discarded Prize Amalgam because if we reveal another Narcomoeba, this Prize Amalgam will just come back. And my opponent is attacking here. My opponent is desperately trying to have their swamp back. I will not block. I will not block. You need more lands than me. I have the win in 2 turns. So we'll Dredge 4. Just Prize Amalgam's back, so we'll just discard the Sync with Imp at the end of the turn. And we will attack here. My opponent cannot block, so 10 damage. My opponent needs to do something desperately, and they don't have black mana. So is this the end? We can even cast Otherworldly Gaze now, because we have 2 islands, right? So, okay, nothing good. Cephalic Coliseum would be good in other position, but not now. Now we have 3 Prize Amalgams in our graveyard, and our creature has Trample. So my opponent needs to deal with my creature. It cannot be just blocked. My opponent is drawing 2 cards. Preordain, alright. Guys, I think we have the win. Unless my opponent has, I don't know, Dismember doesn't kill Altanak. They play another island. Okay, they stay on defense, but this is not enough. My opponent needs a bounce spell. And my opponent concedes. Guys, we are 3-0 with the power of the insect. And the power of frog. So we are playing frogs and insects to win the game. We won. Let's see if we can continue on our 4th match. Altanak, huh? Amazing, amazing. Okay, we are on the play against deck fading 0-7. Let's see our starting hand. We have 3 lands. Creeping Chill is not good on our starting hand. I'm not sure if my opponent plays with counter spells or not. I think I'll keep this. We are on the play. and Otherworldly Gaze on turn 1 plus Say Its Name on turn 2 can lead us to good things. This is not the best hand, but this would be a good mulligan to 5. So I am considering that, but this is not a great hand. Let's play Misty to guarantee our black mana now. Water Grave untapped, and we cast Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, we did hit our Dredger. Wonder, so our creatures will have flying, and another Otherworldly Gaze. Next turn we cast Say Its Name, luckily we will find a Coliseum. My opponent plays Inspiring Vantage. Rift Bolt, oh, this is burn. And we are already losing, 17 life. We will Dredge 5, and one of our best cards in this matchup is in our hand, Creeping Chill. Now what? I will play Breeding Pool untapped, ouch, down to 15. But we have Cephalic Coliseum there, so we have our best land there. We have Dredgers, not the best Dredgers, but we have the Dredgers. Let's take Cephalic Coliseum for next turn, and we'll pass a turn. We have one copy of Say Its Name. My opponent's Rift Bolt will probably hit us. There's no other target. My opponent is several minutes away from keyboard. Okay, they did hit me, dealing 3 damage. They play Sacred Foundry, untapped, tap into red mana for Eidolon. Okay, so let's try to not cast more spells this game. We can win the game without casting spells. This Eidolon, with some luck, this Eidolon will hurt more my opponent than ourselves. Okay, so let's dredge Dark Blast or Lars from the Loam. I think Dark Blast. I don't need more lands, not now. This Nakumibai enters, is a blocker, and Press Amalgam will enter the battlefield at the end of this turn. And this is a Cephalic Coliseum turn, right? We don't have our best Dredgers yet, but I don't want to I don't want to cast any more spells this game. So Dredge 3, Dredge 4, Creeping Chill is great. Dredge 4 again, Altanak is there, Say Its Name. Just one Say Its Name. Let's discard our best Dredgers. We will drain 3 life, and we have another Nakumibai as a blocker. Now we have even a second Press Amalgam coming back. So we are both on 15 life, but we have more creatures, and my opponent has a taxation creature. The tax? 3 life. 3 life or 2 life? It is actually 2 life. So Arid Mist cracks it. My opponent taps mana. Oh, Searing Blaze. Searing Blaze deals damage to my opponent. 2 damage to them, and 3 damage to me, because they had a land. And now another spell from my opponent, Goblin Guide. So we'll see what we have on top of our deck. Do we kill Goblin Guide here? Otherworldly Gaze is not a good card to keep on top. I think I'll kill Goblin Guide here. We have the advantage to win this game. If we kill Goblin Guide, we can attack freely next turn. If I don't do nothing and hit another Creeping Chill, we have the win immediately, because my opponent will go down to 0 if I hit a Creeping Chill. But if I don't hit a Creeping Chill, I think I prefer to kill this Goblin Guide immediately and keep the advantage. So let's cast the Dark Blast here. My opponent knew about it, right? We dredged Dark Blast last turn. Okay, so my opponent passed quickly, and we will dredge 5. Oh, Creeping Chill. That's bad. That's good, but we could win the game immediately. But I don't think my opponent can win anymore. I'm not sure. Let's see what's on top of our deck. Some Scour, we can mill that. We have 2 copies of Say Its Name. I don't think my opponent can even win the game anymore. So let's attack. So my opponent cannot cast a spell that costs 3 or less. If they do, they lose the game. So no creatures, no lightning bolts. And we are super healthy on 11 life. So I don't think my opponent can win. Okay, we won our first game against Burn. Burn, baby, burn. Unfortunately, we don't have many things against Burn, but I think Spell Snare can be good, because my opponent plays white, and that means that good card that Burn players have against us. And all the scary cards that my opponent can play are probably spells that cost 2 mana. The Say Its Name package is again probably too slow. Psychic Frog can be good. Against Sanctifier, our best bet is to counter it. Or maybe having also Thoughtseize. But I'm not sure if it is just too much to have a Thoughtseize and Spell Snare. And Thoughtseize costs life. Now we are on the draw, so I will bet on Spell Snare. Let's submit. One thing to notice is that maybe this, thinking about it now, for the first time, maybe this build doesn't want Thoughtseize. Maybe we just want Inquisition of Kozilek. Because against Burn, for example, I would like to have Inquisition instead of Thoughtseize. If Burn is a popular deck right now, I don't think it is, but if it gets more popularity, because Thoughtseize can, for example, target the One Ring or I don't know, other expensive cards, but I don't think we need to take those cards from my opponent's hand with Thoughtseize, because we can win even against the One Ring, especially because we can win on instant speed with Cephalic Coliseum, for example. We can deal damage and then win. We have Boseiju. Boseiju cannot destroy the One Ring. Okay, I'm talking too much. Let's play. But I'm not sure if we do need Thoughtseize. Maybe we do. Maybe I'm just talking BS. Okay, this is tempting because we have double Psychic Frog, but only one land. Okay, this is our best hand so far. My opponent kept 7 cards, so hopefully no Sanctifier. Polluted Altar for the Sand doesn't matter. My opponent plays Arid Missa, cracks it. For a Sacred Foundry, untapped. Monastery Swift Spear, a hasty creature. Now it's our turn. We have a tapped land. So let's guarantee our untapped land here. Unfortunately, we'll go down to 17, 16. And now I'll cast Tom's Cower, targeting ourselves. Okay, Narcomoeba enters the battlefield. But no dredgers, unfortunately. Of course, Psychic Frog can just discard our best dredger. And we have a blocker if we need to block immediately. My opponent has 2. Okay, oh no, my opponent has Sanctifier and Vac. And this card is really difficult to beat because we don't have bounce spells, we don't have ways to destroy it. Now we can just race it with Psychic Frog. And I don't even think I will attack with Narcomoeba. Can we win here? In a couple of turns, of course. If I discard everything to Psychic Frog, it will be a 4-5 flying. And then 5-6 flying, so 9 damage in 2 turns. We need 3 turns to win with Psychic Frog. We only win this match if my opponent's hand is only lands and useless spells, which I doubt, because Burn usually plays with fewer lands than usual, like us. My opponent has 5 cards in their hand. And my opponent did find a Sanctifier and Vac on a hand of 7 cards. Let's see if this is a good hand or not. Okay, my opponent is thinking a lot. Or maybe they are away from keyboard again. Okay, Mountain, Lava Spike. Lava Spike, now. So this is representing a large Monastery Swift Spear if my opponent has... Okay, maybe my opponent doesn't have anything, but I don't think I will block with Psychic Frog yet. Maybe I should, I'm not sure. Because the way we win this game is attacking with Psychic Frog. And I don't want to lose it. Let's discard everything. Because my opponent has 3 power in play, we'll have 5 power in play, and then 6. So we can win in 3 turns, and if my opponent doesn't have anything but lands, we can win the game. But I don't think I will win if I would just wait here. We don't need to discard this Otherworldly Gaze, right? Because if we deal... No, I think we need. After we don't, because we'll draw an extra card with Psychic Frog, so maybe I will just keep this Otherworldly Gaze, trying to see what else we have on top for next turn. Maybe you can draw one Narcomoeba, for example. But it's so hard. Okay, let's attack. Psychic Frog hits. We will draw. Wonder. Wonder will not do wonders. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. Creeping Chill will not hit, unfortunately, because of Sanctifier. We don't want to tap lands. I could keep Golgari Thug as a blocker to Monastery Swift Spear, but my opponent probably has ways to deal with blockers. I don't even know what I'm looking for, because probably my way to win this game is just discarding everything to Frog. Let's pass here and see what my opponent can do. We have the win in 2 turns, my opponent has a win in 3 turns, but they need... If they have any burn spell, they will win the game faster than... Now my opponent plays a land. Oh, they are cracking the land. Do they have a 4-drop? No, a 3-drop. Oh, what is this? Screaming Nemesis. Is this the moment that I should scream? A 3-3 haste? My opponent is heavily based on creatures compared to other... And a lightning bolt. Okay, we lost. And my opponent, in fact, had a lightning bolt last turn, probably. That's why my opponent did attack with a Swift Spear. So we had no chance to win this game. We are tied, but now we are on the play. We don't have Leilani of Sanctity in this build. If we had, we could include Leilani of Sanctity here. But my opponents, let's think here, Leilani of the Void are useless. We could include Thoughtseize on the play. Maybe we don't need Wonder. It's pretty hard here because Thoughtseize deals damage to ourselves, but sometimes if we cannot hit our spell snare, sometimes Thoughtseize is the way to go, especially on the play. We have 2 turns to see our opponent's hand. If I want to include a Thoughtseize, what I can take from the deck? I will not take Chills. Maybe I could take 1 Frog, say its name, and 1 Tom's Cower. My opponent's deck is heavily based on creatures, so I'm not even sure if Leilani of Sanctity would be a good fit. And I'm talking this after seeing what I saw last game. 2 Thoughtseizes are in. 1 land? No, I don't think I will take 1 land. 1 Frog. 3 Thoughtseizes. 1 Loam, maybe? Because Loam is so slow in this. Yeah, let's try this, because Loam is our slowest game plan. It is good when it's good, but it is our slowest game plan. We probably... Our best shot to win this game is probably being fast, but our list is not so fast. We cannot win on turn 1 or turn 2. Of course, we could have Said's name and have an Altanak on turn 2, but this is... Oh! Thoughtseize and Spellsnare. Unfortunately, only 1 land, but I think this is a keep. because we also have Otherworldly Gaze. This is probably our best shot. We have even Psychic Frog in our starting hand. We don't have bad cards in our starting hand. This is probably our best shot. No Narcomoebas, no Creeping Chills. We have our best treasure to be discarded to Psychic Frog. We need to hit our second land with this. My opponent is going down to 6 cards. So I don't think we need to cast Thoughtseize on turn 1. We probably can just cast Otherworldly Gaze trying to hit our second land. And then on turn 2, if we find our second land, we can, we can cast Thoughtseize and holding Spell Snare. So let's start with Otherworldly Gaze. Hopefully we'll find our second land. Okay, we did hit Chill. Do I keep a second Spell Snare on top? Maybe. Okay, let's keep both on top, just in case. I'm not sure actually if I should keep our second Spell Snare on top. Maybe. Okay, my opponent cracks Aridmisa. The thing is, I don't want... Okay, Goblin Guide. So we'll draw our land. That's great. And then we'll draw our second Spell Snare. I don't want to reveal to my opponent that I had a Spell Snare in my hand. I don't want to let them think about Spell Snare. That's why I hold Spell Snare on top. So we'll play Breeding Pool, unfortunately doing damage. And I will see our opponent's hand. Okay, they had a Sanctifier. And their hand is not that great. They have a Path to Exile. So we just need to find a Dredger to maybe win this game in a couple of turns. Through Creeping Chills, great. Unfortunately, no Dredgers yet. Okay, so let's clean this. Now my opponent plays another Goblin Guide and a Swift Spear. So, okay, the clock is ticking. We have a Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is not a good card to be or draw for the turn. So we could draw Thoughtseize and cast Psychic Frog, but my opponent has 2 good answers. The best answer, and we don't even have a basic land in our deck. So I think our best shot is to cast Otherworldly Gaze. Of course, if we cast Psychic Frog, we can discard our Dredger, but this is just too slow. And now we have a Dredger in our graveyard. This way we will clean the top of our deck. I think this is the best way. We need to chain Dredgers here. We couldn't. We have another Otherworldly Gaze for next turn. That's super unfortunate, because now we don't have answers to my opponent's creatures. They play Inspiring Vantage, and that's really unfortunate that my opponent has exactly Path to Exile. If this wasn't the case, this Psychic Frog would be huge. But now what? Guys, it's unfortunate. I think we will lose this game. We found Creeping Chills but no Dredgers, and now I cannot just have a natural draw here and play Psychic Frog. I think I need to cast Otherworldly Gaze again. If I give a target to my opponent's Path to Exile, they will deal 6 damage. So let's cast Otherworldly Gaze. We need to hit Narcomoebas. We already have 1 Press Amalgam there. Oh no. Do we keep Polluted Delta? I don't think so. At this point I think we'll lose, guys. Our Dredger was on top. And we don't have Breach from Below in Modern or Cabal Therapy. We cannot just put many zombies in play. My opponent is drawing an extra card. If we had protection from white creature, protection from white and from red, my opponent attacks us dealing 6 damage. What we have on top? Or Golgari Thug. Yeah, we will lose, guys. Let's cast this Otherworldly Gaze. And Line of Sanctity would not save us in this position here. Okay, Creeping Chill. But this is not enough. We should hit... We need to hit 2 Narcomoebas now to have a chance. 2 or 3. That's our only chance. And none. Okay, we lost. Let's concede here. Almost there. This was actually pretty close. We found answers to our opponent's creatures. Sanctifier and back. But we cannot deal with that many creatures with haste when our deck cannot collaborate. So let's try to do better on our final match. Alright guys, final round. And this hand looks good, but we don't have access to green mana. So I think we will mulligan this. Let's try something better than that. Okay, this is probably good enough. I will put Creeping Chill back. My opponent is on the play. They play Temple Garden tapped. We like that. Now, okay, we draw a Dredger, unfortunately. Let's crack Flooded Strand. We want a Breeding Pool. Untapped. Thumbscour. Find us Dredgers, yes, and a Creeping Chill. Now it's my opponent's turn. A Basic Plains. Oh no, we don't have basic lands here. Oh, maybe we should keep a basic island in our deck. I'm not sure if this is a popular deck or not. This is my first time playing against the land disruption in Modern, actually. So we'll play Scouting Turn, but I will not crack it immediately, because next turn I want to crack Cephalic Coliseum. And we have double Pressed Amalgam waiting to come back next turn. My opponent draws and attacks. We are down to 18. And they play... Oh, Birthing Ritual. This card is seen playing everywhere. Okay, another land. Just a Surveil land. This card is super interesting against our deck, because if my opponent is also a green deck. So they can sacrifice the Spirit and maybe find something good against us that costs 3 mana. Maybe Endurance, maybe Recruiter to find another card. Let's see. My previous opponent with this card couldn't find Endurance. So I hope this opponent also cannot find Endurance. Oh no. How did I know about it, right? I called it. Okay, so let's find another dredger here with our Hedge Maze. Please, please, a dredger. Not the Beetlejuice. Now we draw an Arcomoeba, that's awful. And now my opponent has a combo piece. And we have a 1/1 illusion flying creature. My opponent attacks. We will not block. Extraction Specialist. My opponent will destroy another land. This time my opponent goes after Cephalic Coliseum. Plays another land. At this point, guys, we are already lost here, but this is a lost position. Renegade Radier, okay. So it seems a little bit like my previous opponent with this card, Birthing Ritual. So it is more focused on white value creatures, not energy. We can concede here. My opponent had a terrific hand, and our hand wasn't the best. Even if we had a great hand, this start was pretty good. Now it's our time to sideboard. Maybe we want Boseiju because this can destroy our creature's enchantments. Thoughtseize is also interesting. We are on the play now. So probably the Sage's Name package is... I'm sorry. It is probably too slow. Maybe I can take only 2 lands and keep 1 extra land in Boseiju. 3 lands instead of 2, yeah. So what we want now. Psychic Frog will be probably really good against this deck. I don't think my opponent will have that many flyers. And I don't think my opponent has that many ways to destroy creatures, only lands. So we need to prioritize a beautiful starting hand with a plan. This hand has a plan. We have double Psychic Frog and a Dredger, and 2 lands. I will keep it. My opponent has Extraction Specialist, so they can basically destroy our lands forever. So I don't think we'll prioritize Life from the Loam against them, because their creatures destroy our lands, so they can attack us, and we will just let's start, and we will just cast Life from the Loam without having ways to deal with. Oh, Thoughtseize is good. I think I'll keep it. I'll definitely play Psychic Frog on turn 2, but a Thoughtseize on turn 3, keeping Dark Blast open, maybe. My opponent played only a fetch land, so let's crack our fetch land. And this time, this is a single time where I want a Watery Grave instead of green mana, because I think it will be better if my opponent can destroy one of my lands. I still can Thoughtseize them. Okay, my opponent has a Surveil land, and now it's their turn. Forest, Voice of Resurgence. I don't remember this card exactly, so... Okay, I cannot cast spells during my opponent's turn, deal. And if I kill it, my opponent will gain another creature. If my opponent kills it, it will also give them another creature. Okay, so this is just a valuable creature. I feel like we are ahead now. Let's discard several cards here and give flying to my Psychic Frog, because I don't want to be blocked, right? And I don't think I want to destroy Voice yet. Okay, so let's Thoughtseize our opponent. If they have a Birthing Ritual, they have 2. Sometimes it is what it is. Okay, let's take a Recruiter, I guess. There is an argument to take Birthing Ritual instead, but Recruiter of the Guard can go directly after something like Solitude. I'm not sure if my opponent plays Solitude, but they probably have at least one. So let's discard Prized Amalgam here, and also Creeping Chill. I could discard everything and go for a big frog, but I think I will still try to deploy a second frog next turn. 2 frogs are definitely better than 1. So let's attack. I think I can discard Dark Blast, why not? Okay, we hit our opponent, dealing 5 damage. We get Dark Blast back. Now we have a better Dredger in our graveyard. And my opponent's hand is not immediately good against us, but their enchantment is probably good enough to start a good chain of creatures. Hopefully they will not fly. And we can fly to win this game. Oh no, that's a great top deck. Now we cannot cast our second Psychic Frog, because we don't have a basic island. This wasn't an issue until this match. If this is... I'm not sure if this is a frequent deck. If it is frequent, maybe it is better to have a basic island. So now I have Arcomoeba and 2 Prized Amalgams. That's great. Maybe my opponent's best shot would just deploy Birthing Ritual, trying to hit Endurance. So my opponent blocks here, and now we just pass, right? You have Lethal on board. My opponent needs another creature. They have Renegade Rallier. So if they find a fetch land or something, they can even have the White Orchid Phantom back. Okay, just a Birthing Ritual. At the end of the turn, my opponent will sacrifice Voice, trying to finding another 3-drop or less. And then they have 2 creatures. They need a flying creature or a creature with Reach to block Psychic Frog. Or something that can not only block but destroy the frog. Okay, Renegade Rallier. My opponent can... Oh, my opponent can have... Oh yeah, this is just a nice synergy. My opponent can have a Phantom back to destroy my other land. So my opponent has a blocker again. I can use this ability, but I don't have a basic island. So we'll Dredge 5. Creeping Chill is good. Because, notably, my opponent's creatures are small here. So I'll give Fly to Psychic Frog to force my opponent's Phantom to block. And I think my opponent will probably block my other creatures as well. Let's see. We want to get rid of my opponent's creatures, so they cannot sacrifice easily a creature to have 2 or 3 creatures to block next turn. Okay, so my opponent blocks Frog and press Amalgam. They will keep the Rallier. Why? Just to guarantee another creature. Yeah, sure. So my opponent is down to 6. We can win this game. If my opponent can only get 1 extra creature each turn, we have a good chance to win this game. Okay, Recruiter is good. It doesn't fly, but it can get something. If my opponent has Solitude, they will bring Solitude exactly now. No, they don't. So my opponent don't play Solitude. They want just another land. And now Birthing Ritual triggers. My opponent is taking a long time here. Okay, they have Endurance. But our graveyard is not that great now. We don't have that much. And we have Dredgers in our hand. Okay, I'll have a natural draw here, and this was probably not the best idea. I think I'm just tired, but it is what it is. Okay, let's discard almost everything, because now my frog can fly again, and we will attack with everyone. My opponent blocks with Endurance. Okay, now my opponent blocks with everyone, so no creatures for them. They need to cast a Rallier from their hand, or maybe another creature if they draw another creature. Another Recruiter, okay. What now? Just another Witch Enchanter, so just another land, okay. Yeah, my opponent has only 1 basic forest, and if we keep pressuring them, maybe we can win. I'm not seeing any creature that can destroy Psychic Frog. Only blockers. Okay, Extraction Specialist is good. My opponent will take another blocker. Was this the best choice? Okay, let's discard. Let's do the right thing now. We'll discard Sync with Imp. And with Dredge, Creeping Chill is great. And now we have 3 Prized Amalgams. If we hit another Narcomoeba, we'll have a good time. Let's discard our last Psychic Frog. It is useless. Let's exile 3 cards from our graveyard. Give Fly. Yeah, because now my opponent's Phantom cannot block, right? So, yeah, we win. We win. For a moment, I forgot that when Extraction Specialist gets a creature back, that creature cannot block. So my opponent's choice was weird, but maybe they didn't have another choice. Okay, so Birthing Ritual, not always the best card. Let's see, on game 3. Oh, guys. I need to breathe a little bit. I'm not sure if Thoughtseize is that good on the draw compared to Spell Snare. Maybe we keep Spell Snare instead. Wonder seems a good card, because my opponent apparently cannot deal too much with 3/3 flying creatures. Only Endurance can block them. And I don't feel my opponent has that many Endurances. We saw only 1 each game, after many turns in a row. Yeah, let's submit like this. Keeping Boseiju. Leyline of the Void could be a consideration because of Renegade Rallier, but an Extraction Specialist, but I'm not sure if this is the way to go. Okay, this is a mulligan. Oh, this is so tempting. We are on the draw. Guys, I'll keep it, but if there's one thing I've learned about playing Magic the Gathering, is that hands like this promise too much and achieve too little. I hope I'm wrong, but when you have a single land and your opponent plays with Land Disruption, sometimes it's not good. Hopefully we'll find a second land soon. But double Spell Snare and a Life from the Loam in our starting hand seems a great way to start this game. On the draw, of course. So my opponent has a Surveil land, kept on top, plays Temple Garden. Ha! Let's counter that. I think we need green, right? In case we find another land on top. So Breeding Pool, take that. Birthing Ritual. Okay, land from the land on the top. No Creeping Chill. Oh. Okay, let's see. We still have 1 counter spell. My opponent has another. Oh no, 3 mana. What now? A Cascade card, okay. Oh, Sanctifier and Vac. Take that. 2 Spell Snare. Now what? Land. Oh, oh no, Creeping Chill on top. It's brutal, brutal. Okay, Charlie's Agent attacking, dealing 2 damage. My opponent has a way to destroy my land, it's over. Okay, untapped land. And, oh, they have this? Okay, so maybe my opponent is... We did find our second land, but I think it's too late. Let's cast the Frog. Because now my opponent can cast Sanctifier and Vac and win from that, right? We have maybe a chance to take those lands back with Life from the Loam and cast both Creeping Chill from our hand. But I don't think that's reliable as a game plan. Let's see what my opponent... Oh, and they have Solitude. They do have Solitude. Why they didn't use Solitude on game 2? I don't understand. Maybe it was in their sideboard? Okay, we concede, guys. We tried. This seems like a bad matchup, especially after sideboarding, but we did win one game. Psychic Frog was OP against this heavy white deck. And we did a 3-2 after 5 games, after 5 matches. So let's talk a little bit about how this league went. We had 3 great wins and then 2 losses. My match against Burn would probably be better with a different sideboard, but my opponent had some luck with good starting hands with Sanctifier. Well, let's show the deck and talk a little bit about it. Okay, folks, let's evaluate our deck after this league. I think the deck worked, but it probably can be a little bit better. Against our last opponent, we could maybe have more edge if we had a single basic island. And I know that I told you before that I took the basic island just to have a better balance between all of our mana. But maybe we can just squeeze it back. Maybe we can take 1 Breeding Pool or 1 fetch land to re-include a basic island. And I think our Burn opponent had a great starting hand, so maybe this would not repeat every time, because my opponent had only Sanctifier against us, at least in those games. Let's start talking about Say Its Name package, the Beetlejuice package with Altanak or Altanak, I'm not sure how to call. It is the Thrice-Called, so we must call it correctly, properly. So the Beetlejuice. I think this is probably a great alternative, a great win, alternative win condition, but our deck is already slow, right? It is a slow dredge in Modern. We don't have Conflict Rate, we don't have ways to finish the matchup on turn 3, and this is probably a reliable turn 4 play, sometimes on turn 3, sometimes on turn 2. We had great moments in this league. If we cannot create a great Beetlejuice deck in Modern, we can definitely try to do this in Pioneer, because I think the cards are really strong. Not every deck can deal with a 9/9 trample, especially with flying in Modern. And I think probably between all the Modern decks, we are probably the best Beetlejuice deck. We have a great mana, we have great spells to achieve this quickly, and we can hold the ground with Creeping Chill until we find our giant insect. Psychic Frog is really good, guys. And as I told you before, I think Psychic Frog is main deck material, at least in this list. I noticed that some Dredge players are trying Psychic Frog from the sideboard to have alternative win conditions when your opponent has Graveyard Hate. But Psychic Frog does everything you need. It discards, it grows, it attacks, it draws, so it does everything we need. Of course, it is slower. But since we have Creeping Chill, sometimes you just hit 3 Creeping Chills and your opponent is down to 9, and you just need 1 or 2 Frog hits to win the game. And since we have Wonder, sometimes you don't even need to exile cards from your graveyard to give flying to Psychic Frog, but usually this is something easier to achieve. I did enjoy the mix between Life from Below and Dark Blast, and I think this deck, these 75 cards are really clean, right? This is a really clean build. We have 4 spells of almost every spell we have. We have a single Wonder, of course, and a single Altanak, of course, and double Dark Blast, double Life from the Loam. We have a great balance of lands, a good mana base. Let's talk a little bit about our sideboard. Boseiju didn't shine in this league. Exactly, it has its moments. We did activate Boseiju more than once, but usually our opponent could recover from Boseiju easily. Leyline of the Void was amazing against Dredge, of course. Thoughtseize and Spellsnare, maybe they are both competing to have the same room here in our sideboard. Maybe we want or Thoughtseize or Spellsnare, not both of them. And maybe this deck, since we have Psychic Frog, we have ways to different roads to win the game. I'm not sure yet. We need more repetition, as I did with my last series of videos here in this channel, playing 5 Legacy Leagues in a row. I will do the same here in Modern. I'm not sure if I'll repeat the same core though, not every time, because in Legacy we already had a good historic, a good past behind our deck. And this is a new creation. This time is different. This is a totally new creation, this Sultai build with Altanak. Maybe I can try, for example, a Temur Dredge, similar to our opponent from second round, but with this package here to see if it works. Maybe. But I think Psychic Frog is really good in a Sultai Dredge build like this, and I really enjoyed playing with Psychic Frog and Altanak together in the same build. As always, more repetition, more testing are needed, to say the least. I hope you had a great time here with me. Click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below if we had together a great time seeing this deck in action. And see you on our next video. Bye.